Good afternoon. Effective crisis management can make a huge difference in student and staff outcomes. As school leaders, we are responsible for having plans in place that guide others during those high stress situations. This presentation will outline the major types of emergencies and how to handle them through communication, preparation, and collaboration. We must be both responsive and proactive. Our actions set the tone for how others respond in those moments of uncertainty. And ultimately, our goal is to foster a safe, organized, and supportive environment, no matter what the crisis is. So having a clear crisis plan in place allows everyone on campus to stay calm and to really respond appropriately. It's not just about reacting to a crisis, but about reducing the likelihood of harm that is done through proper planning and education. Effective crisis management will also help parents and other community members feel confident that their children are safe at school. And it really builds that trust, not just within our campus, but with our broader community. Um, in short, crisis planning isn't just a checkbox task, a step by step. It's really an essential part of educational leadership. So I've laid out these four components: emergency procedures, internal and external communication strategies, pre-crisis preparedness, and collaboration with other groups. And I'm hoping that they will cover all angles of crisis readiness. Having written procedures really ensures consistency and clarity for all staff. But even with very clear protocols and even practice, the real success relies heavily on communication and the clarity, the understanding of those protocols and why we practice and why we take those steps. So we need that communication both internally and externally to be pretty consistent, very constant. Preparation through drills and staff training, safety reviews, they can help us minimize that kind of chaos that comes with a crisis. Um, and of course, collaborating with local responders, it really strengthens our ability to act quickly and effectively during a real emergency, should we ever have one. The first crisis emergency that we'll talk about is fire emergencies. Um, they require quick evacuation um, and calm coordination, evacuating the building using those fire drill procedures. Teachers need to follow those assigned routes, bring their rosters, take immediate attendance once they're outside so that we can figure out if there's somebody missing or not, or if somebody is just located with a different teacher, maybe they're at, speech or resource class. So, with those rosters and that quick attendance, we can really be on top of knowing where our students are in a time of crisis. Also communication, internal communication. It can happen via walkie-talkies, radios, external communication will follow after that, initial confirmed accountability when we know that we have all of our staff and students safe, or at least a location for all of them. So practicing, all of these steps multiple times throughout the year builds that confidence and that routine. Um, Conduct is very important as well. So conducting those fire drills and making sure that everybody knows clearly where their exits are, no matter where they are in the building. Custodians, administrators, emergency personnel need to also be all on the same page for that smooth execution during a real fire event. So it's really important that we involve not only everybody in the school, but all of our stakeholders. if parents are visiting, we wanted them to know, the procedures as well, or at least our teachers and staff members that will work closely when we do have volunteers on campus, as well as the fire department in this specific crisis. We want to have them involved during our drills so that if it were to happen, we can have the best outcome possible. For intruder situations, they can be, really fast moving, very high stress. We would immediately initiate a lockdown, and, silence is really essential to keeping everybody safe. Um, we would notify law enforcement, using internal alerts like coded announcements or emergency apps can help initiate that response while law enforcement is contacted. Um, and we should also, know before this even happens, our pre-crisis, we can strengthen our entry protocols, enforce visitor policies, conduct those intruder drills really regularly, um, and then by building those really strong relationships with law enforcement, keeping our staff trained on threat assessment, um, things like that can prevent an incident before it escalates. Um, you kind of always you hear these nightmares or, have teachers warning, somebody just knocked on my back door trying to get in. But if that were to happen and be real, just making sure everybody on campus kind of knows those procedures, um, in order to prevent a crisis like this is what we really are aiming for. So the third crisis that we'll cover is tornadoes. Um, Tornadoes give very little warning, so very swift and organized movement to safe zones is very critical. Um, Interior rooms without windows, such as restrooms, maybe hallways. Some of our classrooms are those interior rooms. Those are the ideal shelter areas. Teachers should bring emergency backpacks, take attendance, kind of for the same purpose as we discussed earlier, to make sure that all staff and students are accounted for, um, and safe. Keep students calm until the threat has passed. Um, Pre-crisis efforts, including drills, emergency kits, clearly marked maps to that, their shelter area. Communication with families can come after we know everybody is safe, everybody's placed. Um, that can really emphasizing that protocols were followed effectively. Um, when we get that yes, we're all safe, we're all here accounted for, we know that our protocols have worked. I forgot to mention using the PA system and radios for communication. A lot of times the office is an interior room, and so using those PA systems, should still be, accessible, and then always having radios for emergency situations like this would be a good. In the case of a shooter being on campus, um, these situations are probably the most severe crisis that schools can face. And I know it's a very real fear for anybody in education. Our priority is definitely just that silent, complete lockdown. Every single second matters. Um, Staff and students need to be trained not only in what to do, but how to manage their fear and stay silent as possible. Um, Initiate that active shooter protocol ASAP, call 911, make sure you have that open communication, that contact. Um, Post-incident communication should come from district leaders, and counseling support should be offered immediately, um, following this crisis. strong protocols, ongoing mental health supports, preventative efforts, like threat reporting, can make a meaningful difference. So, if the situation were to ever arise and be real, nobody's having to, scrounge and look at their cards for what to do. But if the awareness is there, the preparedness is there, then that is our best chance at coming out of it, with the best outcome possible. Making sure that we're involving police, those counselors, and have an admin crisis response team just that's really responsible for containing and resolving that situation as quickly as possible. The fifth crisis that we will cover is the loss of electricity. Um, a power outage might seem like it's very minor, but it can quickly disrupt safety systems and, classroom management. Teachers should have their flashlights readily available and know where the safest natural light sources are. Admin teams can use their radios or their phones to maintain internal communication and determine just that need for, if there's a need for relocation or an early release. Having backup batteries for that critical tech or communication tool would be a very proactive step. So just thinking through kind of what you would need in that situation and having those things prepared and ready to go. Coordination with, maintenance, district level tech teams can also help things run, more smoothly in this type of situation. So I also wanted to cover just that internal versus external communication. Internal communication, as I refer to it, is speaking about how we inform staff and students and campus personnel during a crisis. So the people that are internal, in the building. External communication is, what I've been saying to communicate with families, the media, the larger community. Both types of communication require clarity, calm, consistency. So it's really essential to control the message that you're outputting to prevent misinformation or panic. Using multiple platforms like texting apps. I know that we use Parent Square, email, robocalls. Those can ensure that our message is received widely and effectively. We currently have a read rate of like 99% for communications, so we know that our information is getting out to parents and community members who are signed up for that sort of communication. The absolute best crisis management happens before the crisis even begins. Proactive planning really means conducting regular drills, reviewing crisis plans annually, having staff fully trained. Audits and feedback from teachers can help identify gaps in our system. And we should also establish contact points with first responders, maintain a relationship before something happens, just kind of make sure that we have that established before we actually run into a crisis. When we're proactive, we reduce that confusion and we really create a culture of readiness. So, kind of as we've been discussing, crisis response is not a one-person job. It really takes a team. Everybody from custodians to cafeteria workers, to teachers to admin to community members have a role in keeping our students safe. Administrators must coordinate effort while teachers implement classroom level safety actions. District leadership and emergency responders round out that, the full support system. A collaborative approach allows us to respond more efficiently and effectively in any situation. Leadership during a crisis is really about composure, communication, and compassion. Our staff and students look for us for direction, and how we're supposed to respond, or how we respond, can really calm or inflame a situation. Preparation and training build that trust across our campus and our community. So we really need to model that calm decision making and ensure that our teams feel really empowered and supported, especially when going through crisis. With proper planning, we can lead with confidence and care in any crisis. So I would love to open it up for questions or thoughts that you might have. Are there any crisis systems in place um, you know, on different campuses that work really well? Are there areas where you think our campus could use more support or training? Let's learn from, each other's experiences and all of our backgrounds and find ways to strengthen our collective response to crisis management. Thank you for your attention and your commitment to school safety.